On this week's episode of the I-501C, the podcast for nonprofit board members, I have the pleasure of interviewing Hal Williams, the creator of Results First. And those of you watching on video, I'm holding up the book he just wrote. Well, it comes out on Tuesday. Put Results First. Practical steps to harness the power of destination. And Hal's methodology, along with his partner, Robin Fauci, they are transforming granting and the opportunity to really make meaningful impact in communities. So join me as I interview author and friend Hal Williams. Hey, I want to jump in real quick. Somebody asked me the other day, what does the Corley Company do? Well, we do three things for nonprofits. One, we facilitate meetings, yes, like board retreats where we discuss governance and strategy with all the members of the board. Number two, advise CEOs and help them as they make decisions and implement actions to drive their mission. And then finally, we produce podcasts such as this one, but also for a number of nonprofits to help you get the word out, get your message out. So if you're interested in any of these services, please feel free to reach out to Michael at thecorleycompany.com. Now back to the podcast. All right, on this week's episode of the I-501C, the podcast for nonprofit board members, I got a special guest. Well, they're all special guests, but this one's really special. Hal Williams, the creator of Results First. And Hal just wrote his first book, or a book. I don't know if it's first book. We're going to ask him, and we're going to talk about his book, Putting Results First, Practical Steps to Harness the Power of Destination. Hal, welcome to the podcast. And if you'd start off, share with us a little bit about yourself and how you came, a little bit about your career and how you came to write this book.
Thank you, Michael, and it's great to be here. Well, I headed for years a nonprofit called the Rensselaerville Institute, and we did self-help projects in low-income areas around the country, colonias on the Texas-Mexican border, for example, where kids were getting hepatitis at the rate of 1 in 10 because there was no running water. And I wrote my initial book called Outcome Funding out of a sense of outrage that many nonprofits were getting a lot more money than we were, not because they were effectively solving water problems, but because they talked about how great the need was. They brought a tear to the eye. And I wrote my first book, and even more this book, to say, shouldn't both foundations and nonprofits be far more interested in need response than in need statement? So that, if anything, has driven me, that if we're the business of human gain, boy, is it helpful to know how much of it we produce.
Oh, I love that. Thank you. And there would be no Hal Williams, or no Results First without Hal Williams. So talk a little bit about your creation of Results First and how far the organization has come over the years.
Results First happened here in Florida when my wife and I decided that we didn't want to spend winters in Albany, New York. And I retired as president of the Rensselaerville Institute and began doing some consulting here. I'd known Roxy Jerde, for example. She was a client in Kansas City with the Greater Kansas City Community Foundation. And she said, come on in and talk to some of our donors and chat with others. So I started doing some programs. And I'm Michael, I think like you, a person that bets on people more than plans. And I had an initial workshop I did with the Manatee Community Foundation, and there were 10 people in it that I was working with as nonprofit leaders. It turns out they were all women, and they were great. And one in particular, Robin Fauci, who'd been head of Neuro Challenge, the Parkinson's franchise, if you will, for a 4 or 5 county area, struck me as just an incredible sponge when it came to learning this kind of world of results and also entrepreneurial. So I thought, I don't need to just kind of go on and limp along as a person nearing retirement. I got somebody who can keep this stuff alive and basically be my living legacy. So that's Robin, and we founded a group called Results First 3 years ago. We're now up to a fairly good book of business. We got 4 or 5 people working with us. We're just this last week finished what we call a showcase with the United Way Suncoast up in Hillsborough and Pinellas counties. And we're off and running now with a great number of nonprofits in the area. So actually finding a person to partner with, me as the creator, she as the CEO, has just made all of this wonderful.
Well, and your approach to succession planning has been very successful because she's doing a dynamic job. I've been to the showcases and they're fascinating. I'm going to the one in Manatee County in about a month, as a matter of fact, and looking forward to that. Hal, let's jump into the book. So again, the book is titled "Put Results First." It comes out on Tuesday, which he's going to share with us next Tuesday, when the day this podcast drops. And you start the book, the premise and you say, I'm a quote, "I will present the 5 acts essential for becoming achievement-based. Achievement-based." So results first is all around being achievement-based. Would you share a little bit about what you mean by that?
Sure. Michael, if you go on the website of most nonprofits, on the homepage, probably the most dominant feature is the flashing light to donate now. Now, what's not on the cover is why I should donate. I have to go 3 or 4 clicks in before I can find what the group achieves. Now, I can learn a little bit in the homepage and then a little later about their wonderful programs. Brings a tear to my eye. I can learn about their great values. I can read their mission and vision. It's a little tough to differentiate because they sound the same as many other groups' values and mission and vision who are in that same space. But if I want to know what they achieve, it's 3 or 4 clicks in, or it's not even present. Or if it is present, it's in such terms as, well, we took a survey and 90% of the people were satisfied or highly satisfied with our programs. Well, if a person is satisfied with the program, it's a weak predictor that they did anything with what they learned. So the point is to get beyond the idea of describing activities and to answer the question, so what? So you had 5 workshops. Did anybody get a job? How many more kids are reading on grade level? Questions like that answer the question, not just for the donor, but for the nonprofit itself. What difference did we make? When somebody's money is gone, so what? What's different?
And in order to do that, you talk about setting targets, defining success prior to embarking on whatever program it may be. So do you find that challenging for nonprofits to do?
I do, because we're so used to defining in the proposals that most foundations and governments seek. They want to know what our work plan is. They want the deliverables, and they'll hold us accountable, unquote, in the nonprofit world for delivering the service. The problem is that a person who gets a service may or may not get better. So the focus really needs to move from the completion of an activity, again, to an ability to track how the participant is doing at getting to the finish line of gain.
And as you're tracking, you're going through, there are different points, and you talk about this in your book. You in order to make a pivot, you've got to track somewhere along the continuum. You don't wait till the very end.
Great point. No, as a matter of fact, the best programs in nonprofits are never a surprise. You don't wait to the end and say, oh my goodness, look what happened or didn't happen. The key to that is what in the book I describe as milestones. Robin and her crew have helped nonprofits who have an amazingly difficult time doing this, getting out of the mindset of looking at what they do, that work plan, and looking at what participants get. So rather than say, well, we attracted 25 people to start the program, and they completed the first 3 sessions. That's the work plan, the activity. You ask the question, well, where do the participants need to be at the end of the first session, for example, to know they're on track? So we're interested then in asking them. It isn't really very complicated. Okay, here's 25 people who came to a session. Why don't we ask them, are you going to come back for the second one? And why is that? You want to get deep. Surveys are very limited value. So if you it doesn't take very long, by the way, to talk to 25 people for 5 to 10 minutes each. and ask them, what'd you get out of this? Key question. Are you thinking about anything you could do and do differently as a result of what you learned in this first session? And if everybody says, no, it was great information, but I can't think of a darn thing I could do differently as a result of it, whoops, since the result down the road almost always has to do with somebody making a change in what they do. It isn't a change in the helper, it's a change in the person who's being helped. And if they can't talk about that and characterize it, then you're off track. So the shift from the work plan steps to the milestone is absolutely critical.
Oh, I love that. So we're talking tracking milestones throughout, so that at some point, if the milestones aren't being achieved, I assume you're making some kind of pivot, and even you could be a programmatic pivot. Something's not working as you had anticipated.
Yes, absolutely. And you get that initially by talking to people individually, and then you add them up. So that if I start with 50 people, how many do I need to come back to the second session to stay on track? Let's say I start with 50 and I want to get 15 to the finish line of some important game. Okay, how many do I think need to come back for the second session? And I set that up in advance as well. And then if I don't hit that number, whoops, something's wrong. And yes, absolutely. In fact, our belief in the book, I talk a lot about how you want to hold the result constant and let the activity vary. A lot of nonprofits will say, well, this is what we do. It's what's cherished. It's what's fixed, and we're going to do it. If it ain't working, stop doing it and try something else. Absolutely.
Oh, this is fascinating, because this really is a change in approach for a lot. It's logical, and you go, wow, how come that has not always been the case? But it hasn't always been the case. A lot of times it's been about outputs and not outcomes. And you've got a methodology. We really need to focus on those outcomes. The so what. Can you talk a little bit about the so what? Because I've heard Robin say it a number of times. I love when she says it with emphasis. And it's two very, very powerful words.
Oh, thank you. Robin now talks in her presentations about how her buddy Hal so whatted her. She had come into a session and was yakking about how many people had been to all of their workshops. And this is a big number, over 1,000. Aren't you impressed, Hal? And I said, not really. So what? And then she began to think about, okay, of those thousands, here's how many reported that they picked up on a technique as a caregiver, for example, to a person with Parkinson's that made the person's life and the caregiver's life better. So just the switch from the activity, we are just so bound by our programs and our activities. They're so hallowed that this idea of so what. It also, Michael, it's interesting, there's a section of the book where I talk about the formats we use. And one of the formats that's used a lot is the logic model. Now, I don't mean to offend anybody, but I will say that the nonprofits that I know, if the funder's in the room, they talk about how helpful the logic model is. If the funder's not in the room, maybe the talk isn't quite so enthusiastic. But the problem overall that we have with, say, a logic model is that it's at such a high level of abstraction. And as you pointed out, you've got the inputs, the outputs, the results, the impacts. And you ask the question, well, what is there that explains that progression? And the answer, of course, is arrows. Arrows. That if I could draw an arrow between the output and the result, that must be how it happens. Well, the arrow doesn't tell you anything about how you get from an output like 10 workshops to how do I get 100 kids who are 2 grade levels behind to being on reading level. So the idea of getting under these kind of formats in which there's a reasonably abstract representation of progress from an activity to its consequence to really digging into the particulars of, okay, I got 50 people in this workshop, or 10 people that I have a case manager for. Now, how the heck do I help them get from where they are now to somewhere down the road?
And this approach, and I said earlier, a lot of intentionality, but it's work. You have to think through it. It's not rote. I mean, that variability, which is exciting, but it adds an extra layer of complexity because you're going to have, theoretically, a better outcome.
Yes. Although, here's what's interesting to me. When I wrote this book, unlike my first book, where I lapsed and went into some long sentences with complicated words. And by the time this book rolled around, I realized it isn't really very complicated, and let's not make it so. So many outcome frameworks are kind of murky and heavy-handed. We hear about indicators and measuring and analyzing and all this stuff. But the questions that you can ask at a nonprofit level are actually reasonably simple. And what I've tried to do in this book is to keep in mind that not just leaders of nonprofits or boards, but also of just staff, for example, who directly interact with the participants, the customers of the program. So their world is very different. They're on the ground. These models and charts don't mean a heck of a lot to them. What they need to know is, for example, what do I look at during my next engagement with this person that tells me they're making progress? What do I look at? And it isn't like 10 things, it's just one or two. One or two. For example, if you're interested in whether a person is engaged, which is a huge predictor, you can't just have them sitting on their rear dutifully listening to things. You need them engaged. Can you see engagement? Yes, you can. You can see engagement. You can see it on a face. Does the face change when somebody talks to them? Does the person initiate anything, or are they always kind of passively responding? Even the ratio of frowns to passive to smiles. Smiles are a predictor of engagement, for gosh sakes. It's energy. Does the body move at all, or is it just sitting there? So whether it's looking at engagement or anything else, there are so many things that staff of nonprofits can focus on that are predictive of success versus predictive of complying with the work plan set before them.
Oh, I like that comparison right there. Predictive of success versus predictive of compliance with the program, because there is a lot of compliance with the program, isn't there? That's the funders say, so we must do type of thing. Yeah. And you talk about, and I love this, in chapter 5, communicate by accomplishment. And you say, nothing is more suspect than the adage that results speak for themselves. They do not. My emphasis. I underline that. They do not. Would you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. There are 3 ways, we think, to define yourself: by who you are, what you do, and what you achieve. And only one of those is memorable. A lot of folks, my guess is, listening to your podcast or seeing it, Michael, have been at lots of conferences or workshops where people introduce themselves. And
Sure.
You start at the first table, and people talk about their nonprofit, and they talk about the programs they offer, the locations, and the like. I've occasionally done one of those and then stopped them after the first table and asked anybody what they remembers about the people, and they don't remember anything. Okay. So we go through a ritual here of people talking about what they do. I mentioned in the book I was asked out to a lottery in the Midwest. I do not have client permission. I usually do, but not in this case. The lottery director wanted to become governor, and they talked about everything the lottery did. They'd shown pictures of its headquarters building and the board of directors with neckties and nice skirts and blouses, and nobody cared. Then they talked about the games of chance, which was the second definition by what you do. And when I got there, it only took about 45 minutes, and they ended up with, we're the Kansas Lottery. And last year, we made 68 people millionaires and contributed $220 million to education. And people remembered. So what I work on with nonprofits, and we do this now when we lead conferences and workshops, when you introduce yourself, here's how you do it. I'm so-and-so. Here's the name of my group. Last year, we. And complete that sentence with something you achieved. Something you achieved. Not something you did, but something you achieved. And it takes a while because none of us are used to doing that. But it is far more compelling. The other thing that's fascinating is that results are the best way to differentiate yourself. If you're a nonprofit or a nonprofit board member talking about what the group does, and it sounds like what every other group in that space is also doing, how can you get more money, for example? You're not differentiated. Increasingly, foundations are shifting from funding programs to investing in results. And if you can't tell them what you achieve, and when a nonprofit opens the conversation by saying, this is what we achieve, it's really helpful at getting much more interest.
Oh, very good. Yeah, that's well stated. I appreciate that. I want to go into part 2 of the book because I think this is really just my experience observing grants and programs. And you say, I had 5 approaches that can greatly improve nonprofit accomplishment. And you, of course, list through 5. And your first one is keep your program live longer. And then you go through a number of other things, which I think are absolutely fascinating. The audience is going to have to get the book to read those. But can you talk a little bit about part 2 of the book and how do you greatly improve nonprofit accomplishment?
Yes, we've had wonderful experiences with, let me give you some examples. The first one, keep your program alive longer. There's a tendency to say, well, when our service delivery ends, that's the end of the program, and we wish our participants the very best. For example, with college prep programs, and there's a lot of them, a lot of high schools, charter high schools. We worked with Green Tech High School in Albany, New York. It has as its participants African-American kids who are doing very poorly at the big public school system they were in. So they came to Green Tech. When they were told it was a college prep program, and then the number celebrated was how many walked across the stage, that ended the program. What Green Tech found is that a lot of the kids that were enrolled in college and had a scholarship either didn't go or didn't stay. So Green Tech has actually, and many other schools in this category have said, okay, there's 2 parts to our program. The first part is high school, where we got to equip you to go to college. And we take the lead in the first part. But part 2, you're still in the program, is when you're in college. You're still green at Green Tech for the first 2 years at college, and we're going to move heaven and earth to make that work for you. We still have a program going. The locus has shifted from our taking the lead to your taking the lead, but we're here to help you. Frankly, it's the best time and money we can spend. My goodness, $50,000 has gone into helping you get to this point. Why wouldn't we spend another $1,000 if your laptop breaks or you need a train or bus ticket home, or air ticket for that matter, because you're too lonely to thrive there? So that is an example. Begin to put in the time as a part 2 of the program where people need to use it. We did this with several groups that offer online training, and even for a 2-hour or 1-hour training, they now say, the groups that we've worked with, okay, at the beginning of this program has 2 parts. First part is this hour, where we're going to hopefully equip you with some use of technology, for example. You know how to do something. But part 2 is you're doing it. And we're here for you. Here's the hotline just for you. We're going to ask you in 3 weeks, what, if anything, you remember from the program, but more importantly, What do you do? What, if anything, are you doing differently or doing with what you learned? So part two, we basically want to deal with you. Part one, we got to offer you something worth remembering and use it. That's today. Part two is over the next 2 weeks or 3 weeks. We think never longer than 3 weeks. Your part of the deal is you use it. And neither of us should be very satisfied unless we get completion of both parts.
Very, very good. That continuation, I like that. And the audience is going to have to get the book for the other remainder of part two. But part three, I found this really interesting. There are many practices that pull us away from results. It is our format. Takes us to the source of many practices that pull us away from our results. Can you share a little bit about what you mean by that, what your observations have been?
Sure. Just a couple of these. One is the job description. Nonprofits, usually aided and abetted by their funders, have job descriptions. The job descriptions describe what a person is to do. You're responsible for this, accountable for that. Do you know what those job descriptions fail to say? What you have to achieve. So the idea of defining a job by its success, not by its activity, what we call a result description. It's a great way to hire people. Everybody will want the job when you tell them you're going to supervise strategic planning or you're going to be a case manager. Here's what you're going to do. But what happens if you say, here's what you got to pull off at the end of the first 6 months, or you're unlikely to still be here? So the shift to a result description, and then pivoting on that to recognize that it's actually a way to build collaboration. Job descriptions, interestingly enough, define, here's what I do, here's what Michael Corley does, here's what Reed Corley does, and they're purposely distinct. I don't need any help to do my job, but I need help to achieve my result. So it's actually a way to build in collaboration, and it can make the so-called dreaded performance review real by putting it this way. Okay, Michael, here we are at the end of the 6 months. Here's what you said you could pull off with our help. I just have the first question, did you do it? And by the way, if you didn't do it, it's as likely to be my fault as yours, because you may well have needed help that I promised you I would give and I didn't. So let's make this a very affirmative conversation about what we achieved and what we learned that we can immediately put to use if we're behind, or immediately put to use to achieve even greater results. So a result description is one. Briefly, another one in that list, oddly enough, is the budget, because the budget solely talks about costs. Well, board members of nonprofits in particular should not be monitoring budgets as the end all. The boards tend to feel that they're stewards of money and therefore should look at costs. But even more importantly, they're stewards of results. Now, a result is defined by two things that are of equal value. Not just what did you gain, but what was the cost to do that. So it's the relationship of dollars spent to achievement when that money is gone. So financial projections, cost accounting, ways that look at what is money achieving. Return on investment absolutely requires those two factors, cost and gain. And budgets are a way of kind of trapping us into separating costs and result, and into separating people. Well, you're the bean counters. You go off and worry about this. I'm too busy doing the program, and vice versa. You're not even thinking about what this costs. Let's put them together.
And every board member listening, I hope you heard that. We're also stewards of the financials, but also stewards of the results. That is a board job responsibility. So, Hal, I appreciate you sharing that. And then you wrap up in part 4 of the book. You talk a little bit about partnerships, coalitions, initiatives, collaborations, and then you touch on the subject of DEI. So just at a high level, can you round us out of part 4 of the book?
Sure. These are two They're not new, but they've increased in the last 5 years in both cases dramatically. Let's start with collaborations. Collective impact and other frameworks are widely used. And one of the things that I've noticed with foundation clients is that when, at the end of the day, they attempt to add up the return on investment, the achievement may not be so hot. Now, one reason is the costs of togetherness are high. If one group goes out and does something, they got their overhead. If we take people away from serving individuals to come to collaborative meetings, meeting after meeting after meeting, and we have burned so much money before even one person is helped. Typically, there's a period that could be a month, could be a year. Now, don't you dare go out and try to help anybody yet. We have to get this collective framework. We, for example, need to build trust. Well, my feeling is you build trust by promising each other you'll do something and then you do it, as opposed to sitting around talking about it for an extended period. The other part of collaborations, and I think this gets to the DEI initiatives as well, is most often they're not driven by results. They're driven by structure and process. We want to know, for example, who's at the table, an important question in diversity and inclusion and equity, who's at the table. But the real question is, what do they do once they get there? It's interesting to me that the questions of DEI at an overall and general level seem to be very different than the questions I hear from Black or Hispanic or Latinos whose kid is not at grade level and who doesn't like to read. They're not so interested in these larger questions. They want to know what's being done to turn their kid in this tough environment into a reader that enjoys it. So the literalness of results, I think, can be certainly sensitively and thoughtfully can be applied to both initiatives of DEI and initiatives of collaboratives. When we get 10 groups together, what are we going to achieve? Is there something specific? And not just, well, at the end of the first 6 months, we'll have established the rules of the road and we will have defined our results. Put results first means you do that before you have the first meeting. I mean, how much different to say, okay, we want to, a lot of kids aren't reading here. We're going to have a year-long collaborative to define an approach to dealing with that and then begin to take action versus, okay, all of you who are in this room today have agreed that we will drop by 50%, going from 2,000 kids, 2 grade levels behind, to 1,000 this school year. And you all said you wanted to do that. So this is our first meeting to figure out who's going to do what to get us from 2,000 kids to 1,000 kids or even 500 who are reading at grade level. When you put results first, you get people then in the mindset of, okay, how are we going to do that? Versus, well, we'll let the process flow, and out of that at some mysterious time will come a shared sense of results. How about starting with the results? Because it's the only way you can design a program to achieve them.
Ooh, that's a good way to wrap up the conversation, Hal. And I could talk to you for quite some time. You're always a wealth of information. But before we go, tell people how and when can they get your book?
Why, Michael, thank you for asking. Of course. The best way to get the book, for those of you on this podcast, is to go to the website, resultsfirst.org. And next Tuesday, we will be up on the website, and you will see there a way to order. It's also got quantity discounts, which we think is important. You can also buy it on Amazon, but where we don't state quantity discounts. But that's another way to buy the book. So either Amazon, starting on Tuesday, Or if you want a discount, do it off of Results First, which will immediately take you to a landing page for the book so you can sample what's in it. You can see early reviews. You can see the table of contents, lots of different things before you might choose to buy it.
Oh, how exciting. And that is Tuesday, April 9th. That's also Reed's birthday. So your book will be coming out on Reed's birthday on April 9th. So everybody, please either go to Amazon or go to resultsfirst.org. And I'm going to hold up a picture for those of you watching on video. Put Results First, Practical Steps to Harness the Power of Destination. And we have had the creator of Results First and author of the book, Hal Williams, on today. Hal, thank you for sharing your experience and wisdom with our audience.
My delight. Thank you for having me.
Great interview with Hal Williams. And now it's Recapping with Reed, where Reed shares his 3 observations from the interview. Reed, what is number 1?
As you begin to develop a program, you need to answer the question, so what? What do you want to change, and how are you going to measure it?
Well stated. Number 2.
I love the formula that Hal gave for introducing yourself. And that formula is, I am your name, with the name of your organization, and last year we insert achievement.
Yeah, as opposed to talking about what you do, what did you accomplish? And number 3.
Board members tend to think that they are stewards of money, but more importantly, they are stewards of results.
Yeah, I picked up on that. I thought that was eloquently stated. It's a dual role for board members. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, Recapping with Reed, based on our conversation with Hal Williams. And we hope that you will join us next week for the I-501C, the podcast for nonprofit board members.